a scam. It's a really legitimate group of people that have gotten together and have decided to try to do a startup nonprofit. So let me just give you some history and tell you where we are to the moment. One afternoon, several months ago, a bunch of Hancock residents and I were sitting around talking about how sad we were that we were seeing an exodus of friends who were going to other places which had what they needed. And some couldn't get services here that they really needed so that they could age in place. This is about a project in which we as a volunteer service will provide volunteers to help clients or members of our organization who have requested certain kinds of services. And in the survey, you will see all the different kinds of services that we are proposing to provide. But I want to say this sort of upfront. Each of these things is really going to be tailored to what Onancock's needs are. Let me explain that this whole project got started in 2002 with a group called Village to Village. They started it in Boston and it was very successful, slowly successful, but successful, and has now over 300 villages around the United States. We had decided as a group, as we were talking about what we could do to make it be better for seniors and elderly people in the town, if we join them and they give you a whole, they're like this great big umbrella that then just gives you a whole template of things to do, checklists, surveys, it just goes on, and it's pretty incredibly valuable to us. So we decided that we would become under the umbrella of Villages to Villages if we could be accepted. And then we would be able to access more information about what we need and how we can do it. Okay. So I gotta get my glasses off with the reason. Some of us had read an article that you may have seen last summer from the Eastern Shore Post, showing that in Chincoteague, they have a group which is called Village Neighbors of Chincoteague. And that has been in operation for about 3 years. They are under the Village to Village umbrella that we are also thinking of being in and so on. And they have been really, really operative and successfully so for these last 3 years. It grows slowly because people have to trust one another. Because people who are in need are going to have people that they don't know come into their houses and do something for them. And there's trust level here that's got to be established. That's one of the reasons I really was looking forward to talking to you all tonight. The more you know, the more you can help us really get an answer and see whether or not we want to start this or not. We're not proposing that we're going to do this if there's not enough need that comes back to us through the surveys or through word of mouth to us, because we're not trying to start something that nobody wants to do. That would be sort of silly. So what we're proposing is however, that all of you should know about it. And if you have any questions, that you should please call me and I'll get you in touch with other people if I don't know the answer. We have a steering committee. There are 6 people on the steering committee and we're meeting every 2 weeks. And we've got ourselves a list of things that we're checking off and doing. And we are working on getting a 501c3 so that we will be an official nonprofit, be incorporated and be properly insured. And, we're going along trying to do all these things. These things will happen when they happen, if in fact we continue to decide to do this. But anyway, Chincoteague has been absolutely fabulously good neighbors to us. They have been really very helpful, and I really want to sort of almost give them a shout out because it's really been very nice to be working with them. When we started our fact gathering phase, we found that the census reports that of the 1,300 approximately people that live in the town of Onancock, or over 40% are over the age of 60. So that sort of made us think, wow, there barely is maybe a greater need than people are acknowledging. Now, maybe you don't realize that you've got so many elderly people, or at 60, you don't feel elderly, I can tell you that. Okay, and at 76, I don't feel that birthday either, but the point is that when you get to a point where you've had something happen and you can't get it done, or you have become a widow or widower, for instance, and you have no partner left to help you out, that extra pair of hands, if any had ever had Derek, I would be a mess. I can tell you, my house would be wrecked and I'd be a mess. But it would be because a lot that I need an extra pair of hands. So this is the extra pair of hands. And it's done in such a way that it's really carefully done. And we are, as I say, are following along all the guidelines. So let me see what I write about that. So we are, as of now, just so you know, and I'll get away because you guys got a lot on your agenda. March 20th, we send out the questionnaires. I've picked up the mail 3 times. We did get ourselves a mailbox. And I picked up the mail 3 times. We have 22 responses. So you know, one of them was one person asked to be taken off the list. And the rest have really been saying marvelous things about this idea. They are saying mostly that they don't need it yet, but they don't know what they don't need yet. But that's okay. This is just the beginnings. This is what's so exciting about it, because we're all getting ideas and trying to figure out how to make this fit into this, you know, and make it work. So, okay. So we received these 22 surveys. One of them said, please make this happen in comments. Another said, this is a great idea. There are other comments that are really helpful. I think that's fun when you're starting to get a dialogue from people, because you do get new ideas and you do see some of the direction. Some of it is not having proper sidewalks for you know, in places where elderly people will walk or need to walk. And maybe we can think about that differently and so on. I mean, these are just suggestions that are starting to come up. You can imagine it's going to be sort of interesting. Okay, so please make this happen. This is a great idea. Aging in place takes a variety of looks, and it has a variety of services. You can look at that and say, okay, what are the parts that we need to get put together so that we can put this project into operation? And one of them, of course, is a bevy of volunteers who will actually be doing the services. They have to be vetted, and they have to be trained, and they have to have background checks, so that we're not putting, you know, we're doing, and they have to be covered in liability as well. So that's the cost, the insurance and so on. But the actual volunteer to absorb the cost of taking someone down to the doctor for an appointment, or going down and collecting something at CVS, that's on the volunteer. And I can't tell you how many people would come up and want to volunteer. This is sort of that pay it forward. You do it when you're young, and then you got it when you're old and you need the help. So it's really good that way too. So we're very excited about it. Anyway, we need vetted volunteers. We need clients, and the client. There are a lot of structures of this. We're not formed up on this one, but here's one that you can think about. They sign a contract to pay you, say, $40 a month. They get 10 services in that month. They can sign a contract for 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. A 3-month contract is probably for somebody that's been in the hospital and needs to have help after they come home from the hospital and they need things to be done for them in the home. A 6 months might be somebody that's just here for half the year. They're not even living here, but they continue to need services and so on. And of course, a year would be longer than that. This price that I'm sort of suggesting is trying to be reasonable enough. It may be too much. We're not fixed at $40 or $50 or $10 yet, until we can see how many people we're going to get as clients. If we know that, then we'll cover our costs and we'll be okay. But if we don't have enough clients, then we're going to run into financial trouble with that. So what do I need from the town? Well, I need y'all to support me and support all of us. And if you do have questions, please call. This is, I think this is a great idea. I think it's something that this town needs. I was surprised that you didn't have senior center. You know why? I just thought there was something here and there isn't. there, you know, there's gonna be not only for taking care of needs, but taking care of socialization, you know, getting together, and then we'll be able to also present things like education about, you know, directives, you know, this sort of things, wills, and so on like that. We can get speakers and get things, people together and do sort of educational things as well. Really exciting. Okay, so I need time, so you're gonna shake your head, yes, say, yes, yes, yes. And then, so, if there are council members, you can distribute the ideas. I'll bring you more of anything that you think you can use in any meetings or anywhere you're going, and you're gonna see a group of people that you perhaps have not seen the survey. I really respect that you might have thought it was a scam, but you can already, so please ask me any questions you want to.
I've got a couple of questions.
Sure.
Or once,
Are you finished?
are you
Yeah.
finished?
Oh, okay.
I would suggest for any future communications that you include some information about who's involved so that it's clear that it's not a scam.
Right, right.
And then the questions are, it sounds similar to the organization that sprang up in COVID to do grocery shopping and grocery deliveries.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Okay.
And then, and so I wonder if there might be some experience from that that would be a helpful springboard for you, as well as what other similar organizations are doing
Okay.
elsewhere.
Okay.
And also the area agency on aging.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're trying to reach all of the agencies and so on, and that are aging across, you know, that would be really dealing with that demographic of 60 people, 60, you know, years or older. I have one more consideration that I'd like you all to do as a board. We are going to make a decision in the next month whether we're going to pursue this project or not, because it's really going to be a way, we're going to gather as much information as we can, and we'll evaluate it, and then we'll say, okay, here we go, let's keep on rolling. And if we decide that we in fact are going to keep on rolling, then I really need to have you consider putting us in on your budget for next year. I have no idea what that is. We're going to have to revise our budget and really look at our numbers depending on what we think is going to work and so on. But I really would like you to please.
Sorry, one other question
Yes,
is,
ma'am.
as far as the geographic scope, is it town limits of Anacog? Is it 23417? Is it?
It is town limits at the moment,
Okay,
only because we didn't want to get way over our skis. You know,
Okay.
with lots and lots to think about. So we're just doing the town limits. The minute we see that's flying, I'm advocating that we go to the zip code.
thanks.
And I think that we can do that, but we're not ready to do it.
Is the age, what, is there age limited or not? You can be, if you're 20 and have issues, I mean, be able to something.
I suspect we'll certainly help with 20 years.
Yeah, but, yeah, not that
I mean, we can, but it's just to give it it is about aging in place, and the services we give are not really all health services.
Right, yeah.
We try to steer clear of that. That's not our expertise, you know, but we can help you with doing things around the house and things like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the prioritize the 5-year capital improvement program for the 2025 budget. I think that's yours.
Well, I'll start, but actually it is yours.
I did it.
About 2 months ago, we put together a list of all of the projects that would come from the town plan that we paid for. And also any of the equipment needs that we would have. As you're aware, you're required, and the resolution that you're going to vote on for the budget is required to have a 5-year CIP or a capital improvement plan. Last month, we went through and sort of priced it out and showed that we had the resources to pay for those projects. This month, this is the 5-year plan about when we would do each of those projects. And that's what I meant by prioritizing. So this is the part where it sort of goes to you. I put the order in based on what I've been hearing. An example would be Queen Street. I'm hearing a lot about Queen Street parking, safety, lighting, aesthetics, all of those things. You folks asked me to get quotes for parking lot designers. So it felt like you wanted to do that first. So I put it in the front column. If you say, you know what, we just don't have the appetite for that right now, kick it 3 years down the road, but we want to do the streetlights. That's what this process is. So we need the CIP 5 years. We've got the resources to do this without incurring any debt. And the list is in front of you.
Question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, yeah, sure.
On this list, Matt, down near the bottom, where I'm on page 6, down near the bottom, it says King Street sidewalk connection. Where exactly, is that between the post office and King Street?
Yeah, if you remember, we applied for what's called a Ready, Set, Go grant. And the Ready, Set, Go grant provided the design and engineering for a VDOT project. This project is to connect the sidewalk on King Street up by the red buildings.
We am lost.
Down at the wall.
King Street down by the wharf, the red buildings that are down there.
Still lost.
The
Go-
overflow parking.
You go to Mel.
Oh, okay, over there, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha, over
Just
there.
a little bit,
Still up. by the
little
post
bit
office.
east of Cheney. So it would connect those. Yep, it would connect that sidewalk, then have a crosswalk just before Cheney's entrance. And then it would go around the point at Sarah's house and connect to the existing sidewalk. So we had natural termination, we had all of the costs and everything else. It did get denied, but they told me that they put the application in as is next year because this would meet the criterion that they're looking at coming up. So I think that's why I put it out 5 years, was because if we put it in next year, then they take a year to decide, then in 2 years we'll get it done. So that's the timing of that.
Okay, my other part of that question is, what is the current use rate of that parking lot on King Street?
It's not a parking lot.
It's not a parking lot.
But there's a parking lot, I understand that, and the sidewalk reasoning too is to get parking and go to the parking lot.
No, it's to be safe walking around the Cheney entrance. Yeah.
King Street is where people would go park their car and walk on that sidewalk and get around to.
Yeah, we rent that for
residents that
Yeah.
use that loop as I'll call it recreational walking loop. So it's not solely designed just to get people to and from the parking lot. It's designed for the safety
How
of
far
our
up?
residents.
Okay, how far up King Street does it go?
It goes all the way up King Street. and
Okay,
it
and I mean
connects.
the other parking, thank you, I mean, the other sidewalks.
So the sidewalk that's there now that ends by the
Right,
car
right.
place, the automobile repair workplace,
Okay.
not to be confused.
The car.
That would extend farther down towards Cheney. Then cross over at the little cutout lot where Johnny Moe parks his truck. And go around my fence.
Thank you.
So the engineering has been paid for, that's been done.
Yeah, the engineering's done, the design is done. They would have to recost it, but other than that, everything's done and ready.
And if we get the grant, do we have to pay something if they?
Yeah, we have to pay 25%.
So we could see this go down 80% if we get the money, correct?
No, that is the match.
That's the match.
Yeah.
Whoa, it cost over $1 million to build a sidewalk or?
Well, then yes, it does. For VDOT to do it, it does.
Well, does that,
So we're not gonna,
Or-
this is, we don't get the match, we don't get it, we're not gonna obviously do this, correct? I mean, that's the council
Well-
decision, but we're not gonna come up with $1 point some million to do that.
That's a council decision.
Yeah, but that is, it would be for the, what is the match, 20% or what?
Yeah, it's 25%.
25%,
Yeah.
okay.
So it is a 1.2 million dollar project. It would add safety because of those trucks rumbling out of that.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in contact with the Secretary of Transportation, trying to get them to do this project as a safety issue, trying to get them to have Cheney put in a commercial entrance and exit, you know, rather than the picket fence. I mean, I'm banging on a lot of doors. The fact that they told me to put it in is encouraging.
Yeah, okay.
We also have a standing water issue in that area.
Yes, you
Will
do.
this help with drainage in that as well? Will it be like a re-engineering, not just of the sidewalk, but you know, the street makes sense with the drainage?
It will on the north side of the street.
Okay,
But one of the things is we've got a storm drain there that goes underneath Cheney's property. And that is clogged up probably for 50 years. So we have to figure out how to,
and they haven't agreed to,
oh, they would agree if we asked to go in and dig up their property and put a storm drain in, but we have to figure out how to keep it from collapsing and filling again. Yeah,
okay.
there's smart people that'll do this.
They also, VDOT came in and supposedly re-laminated that street.
Yeah, that's what they call it as well.
Wasn't up to what we expected and is also again deteriorating. Is there any idea that that's gonna happen? Something's gonna happen again with that before this happens?
I would probably say no to that because that's the way that they said that the road itself was delaminating and that's the way they fix it. So there's no, you know, it's not, that's what they're doing.
I mean, in
If it were
reality, this is
worse,
heavier used
Oh,
portion of
clearly.
the street with the gravel yard.
yeah, clearly.
with The residential and visitor population, so.
Yeah, clearly. I think from a safety point of view, this is absolutely critical, but the town doesn't have the resources to pay for that project. And, you know, we're, like I say, we're knocking on a lot of doors to find out if there are funds available or even to remind VDOT that that is on their secondary maintenance schedule system. And if you look at it, it doesn't look very well maintained.
Yeah.
So I haven't
Thank you.
forgotten. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of sidewalks. I want to see more sidewalks. That's my goal. So we are putting in sidewalks in the northeast neighborhood. Clinton, correct me if I'm wrong. Those sidewalks are going from Pine to Church and Kerr to Boundary, for 350,000. And you're saying this is going to cost how much?
Well, this one has to move utilities, it's gotta move fences, it's gotta, you know, re-landscape somebody's yard. And no, it's you're going from Market to past the firehouse up to Kerr, and then you're going up Pine up to as far as we can go with the budget. So that's sort of where we are, is one strip of
That's a long
sidewalk.
stretch from Pine up to Church. But anyway, the crosswalk, I'm concerned about, because I walk this street almost every day. It seems to me if we put it in that curve, that's a little dangerous. You know, you wouldn't see cars coming, they wouldn't see you. Could we get the crosswalk further up Market Street so that it's not in the curve? Or is it the question of being on Cheney property?
No, that's not it. It's more along the lines of when we cross over from the north side to the south side, if we do it at the curve where Johnny parks his truck, then we've got open area to add a sidewalk. If we go further up King, we've got people's backyards, and that's just much more complicated.
VDOT designed this correctly?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, VDOT did it. I didn't, you know,
Yeah.
there were a lot of engineers. I didn't have anything to do with that. Mm.
Huge fan of sidewalks. I'd like to see them everywhere. You know, I mean, the safety of our residents is my first concern. And there are people here and people I've talked to who have dodged cars. You know, almost been run over, especially on Liberty. Liberty's, one of our more dangerous ones. But my concern is, if you look at the raft map, that this will be underwater a lot. So I fear that we're not doing resiliency and mitigation. Of course, you know, nobody really knows exactly when that's going to happen, but seems to be accelerating, and we'll have a sidewalk underwater.
Possibly.
Seems like we could put a sidewalk somewhere where it wouldn't be underwater.
Well, right now, though, if safety is your primary concern, you've got to think about the people walking down past that Cheney entrance while it's rumbling through, walking through the street. There's no, the standing water's there, so they're dodging all of those puddles while people are coming around the corner. So, yeah, that's a strong safety issue as well.
All right, let's get back to the CIP thing. I think question about public comment about what the public needs to know. So this is going to be in the budget, and we will have a public hearing at the budget before we adopt. The CIP is part of the budget that we adopt in I guess our public hearing is in.
It is. It's the second. No, it's in April. So it'll be in the April 12th post, and then it'll be, I believe, on the 24th.
So we're not adopting this plan tonight, but we will
No.
adopt that with the budget, correct?
Yeah, this is part of the resolution that you'll vote on in June.
Right, okay, I just wanted people to know that there'll be a public hearing, your chance to weigh in
Yes.
on this, okay. All right, so any other questions about the CIP plan?
This is, Matt, this is a rolling plan, so if something doesn't get finished 1 year, it doesn't prevent the next year plans from moving forward, is that correct?
Every year you put a CIP in the resolution for the budget. So you are not binding future council to this plan. You're basically saying next year, this is most important. And if everything works the same way, you do have a flowing plan, but you're not binding future council.
Yeah, but if we didn't finish a job and it was still the council's decision to finish that at that point, the 2026 list can still take place. That budget is still there for that if the council wants to do it. At that
Well,
point.
you would have to roll over. If I have a $5,000 project and I finished 4 of it, in the next year's budget, I have to budget the 1. So it'll be part of the next year's budget, but it's not like the cash is already there.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions about the CIP? So you need a resolution from, or you don't need anything from us? Or are we okay with this right now?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. If you're,
If this, the work, it's, yeah. All right,
It's gotta be
okay.
first for next month. for the budget. Yeah,
All right,
can I say it?
public comment, do we have a sheet? Public comment sheet? You're gonna give me 3 minutes. All right, we're gonna, the 3-minute time limit again. Dr. Feldhausen, any first on the list?
Council members, Mayor Fofke, Town Manager, Mr. Spuck. Thanks for your attention and allowing me to speak to you tonight. There are many issues before us in this present time, but now comes a new issue. It's been a surprise to me, to probably most people in Onancock, that we have recently applied through the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality to renew and greatly expand the amount of potable water drawn from the town's 3 wells. Speaking in round numbers, Mr. Spuck in that application is asking for roughly 120 million gallons of water per year. This is an approximate 50% greater use of the town's water We presently use about 80 million gallons. The purpose of this increase is to provide water to approximately 1,000 new residences and supporting businesses outside of the town limits. I was literally stunned to discover this was not discussed at any time. Equally amazing is the fact that the members of the Planning Commission were also not aware of the plan. I attended the last Planning Commission meeting, and I honestly was stunned to see that they were not aware of this application at all, nor did they plan to attend the Accomack County meeting where that was going to be discussed. So I'm kind of at a loss as to why our Planning Commission is not a part of the County Planning Commission and is not making plans for our town's use of water. I remind the town council members, 2 years ago, a comprehensive plan was created. In it, it was clearly stated that our present groundwater is good and the supply is adequate until 2030 at current levels of use, and refer to page 39 of that comprehensive plan. Now, let me get to the most recent issue. As part of the permit application, the Virginia Department of the Environment paid for a source water protection plan. That plan finally hit our doors this past Friday. In that plan, which is 155 pages long, are many charts, maps, measures, and discussions. This report was created without mention of any of the increases that are being proposed for these out-of-town residences or businesses. There are several important items mentioned in the report, and I'll refer you to the pages I've attached to your information there. On page 9, it states clearly the design capacity is limited by the present storage capacity, which is the big tank in the sky. Simply put, as I understand it, it cannot be expanded without modification. So literally, we are limited to the present output from those wells and don't have the capability of expanding further. It says on page 18, the town should investigate impairments. Now, I don't know that anybody is aware of this, but in the report, the central branch of Anancock Creek is polluted by E. coli, which runs, thank you very much, which runs right by our dock and wharves. The sources of that contamination are not known. Town's wells are potentially at risk from saltwater intrusion. The wells become unusable once the aquifer is overdrawn. The town should coordinate with other municipalities, which again, I'm not seeing occur from the Planning Commission. There is no emergency plan in place in case the wells go dry. What is the town going to do after that? In summary, the level of the town trust in the town leadership is coming into question. There needs to be a far more open dialogue. It is not too much to ask for open discussion between all parties before all these applications, before our water is sold. I have no idea what those agreements are. It's never been made public or discussed in front of anybody. So I'd like to know about it instead of casual conversations behind closed doors, as we've seen often in the past. I advocate for open, responsible government. Just happens that is what water is. So please, everybody, just put it on the table so we can all talk about it. That's all I'm asking. Thank you very much.
Pete Assad. You. Dana Simpson.
I am Dana Simpson with both a business and a home in Hancock. And I'm going to talk about two things. I do want to follow up with Greg because we're from Somerset County and there was a prison put through about 20 years ago in Somerset County. And, you know, jobs, all this, everybody's wells went dry because the prison used so much water. So it's a big deal. And we're on the edge of the aquifer out here, being near the bay. So it's very shallow. There's going to be saltwater encroachment already. Somerset County cannot have any more developments because of this. There was a development that was going to occur outside of Princess Anne. The roads were in, and after this happened, they had to close it down. So it's we have to look to the future and really weigh things very heavily in terms of things, climate change and the amount of people that we can have sustainably here. We also heard that there was money to be allocated for the school parking lot. And I wanted to just say, if any money's to be allocated to improve a parking lot, Queen Street has already been designated by Hill Associates, and it's great. You guys were discussing that earlier. That's central to the health of downtown. The new visitors centers back entrance area should not look run down and ignored as it does right now. We did take a lovely walk on the trail around the school. I'd never seen it before. It's gorgeous. And I looked at the parking lot up there. It looks pretty sufficient. I spent last Monday on the sign committee hearing. One of the tenants of the school lamented that they received very few visitors. The school's large parking lot is in a lot better condition than Queen Street. And I do know that a lot more people need to park downtown. There are many other areas of this town that also need repair or attention to better serve the wider community. In keeping with Onancock's dark sky focus and increasing flooding issues due to excessive rainfall due to climate change, any new or improved parking lot should be permeable. There are many new substrates, some even from recycled materials, that look great and function like asphalt. Downtown Salisbury has long flooded from both runoff and tides. We had a building there right on the river, and they wanted us to pave our back parking lot. I said, I'm religiously opposed to asphalt. And believe it or not, they said, okay. And the 23 years we were there, we did not flood. Everybody else flooded. So we want to really be mindful about the ability to handle the runoff from the rain as we go forward. So please enter this comment into the minutes of the meeting. Thank you very much.
We have not gotten any requests from the school for any money for the parking lot, correct?
Correct.
Correct. We have, no one's requested any money to do the parking lot at the school, and it's not, I'm just not giving you a fact, okay? Did you hear me, Dana?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. We heard that from a few sources, so we were just addressing.
Yes, thank you. We have had no request from them for that. Priscilla Hart?
Priscilla Hart. I live at 21 Market Street. I had prepared a lot of things to talk about. I'm not gonna have enough time, so I'm going to get right to the issues that are not redundant. One thing I will say is that I am a member of Onancock's local area committee on water. We became a committee in September. A consultant from CHA was preparing a report for us. It took quite a bit of time to get that report. We just got it Saturday. So it's 155 pages. It is really long. It does discuss many of the issues that Greg Feldhausen addressed. One of the other concerns that I have is cost. You know, I asked some of our community members what was the benefit of providing water for the developments out of town, which I only found out about in the paper, by the way, in public notices. This was never discussed with our committee. Anyway, I was told that we would make money. I was told that our water bills would go down. However, when I'm looking at some of the things in this report, and believe me, I didn't read the whole thing, and it's going to take a while. There are going to have to be a ton of infrastructure changes for us to be able to provide water for so many people. And who's going to pay for that? Onancock taxpayers are going to bear the cost of this. So I don't know how the numbers work. Are we thinking we're going to make so much money? And we're gonna be able to cover those costs and it will benefit us? I really don't know. But I do have to question the source water. We are looking at using the Yorktown, the middle Yorktown Eastover aquifer. I'm not sure we're gonna have enough water to be able to use that for 15 years. We made a 15-year commitment to provide water for a development in Only. I'm not sure we're gonna have enough water in that aquifer right now, the way it is for 10 years. Let me move on to water quality. I've always had that as a hot button, so I'm questioning our water quality. And I'm questioning our water quality reports. I've got reports from 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022 right here. So I'd like to give them to you because this is just the data page. You can go online and find all the, all the rest of the information, but this is data pages, so you can see there are differences. Okay, let me just give this to you. One of the things I'm concerned about is that some of the contaminants have disappeared from the report. So nitrates, for example, we did not measure in the last report. Now, the 2023 report hasn't come out yet. That's coming out in June. But these reports have changed over the years and maybe, I'm not sure I have another one for you. Maybe we don't need to measure these things. I am not certain. I am not a water engineer. I hope to learn a lot when I'm on this committee. But when I look at nitrates falling off this chart, also gross beta particles fell off it, and radium. That's not reported either in 2022. So, these are just basic questions. I found another copy. I'm thinking.
All right, thank you.
You are very welcome. Thank you, Felix.
Bill Bellman, Patsy?
Feldhausen, 5 Main Street, Onancock City. Well, hello. You're going to be relieved that I am not going to talk about water. The following is taken directly from the lease agreement between the town of Onancock and the Friends of Onancock School, page 7, article 24, and I am quoting. The relationship between the town and FOS is solely that of a leaseor and leasee. The town has no financial relationship with FOS, and nothing in this lease is intended to create any partnership, joint venture, association, or similar relationship between the town and FOS. Having read that, you'll understand why I was taken aback by the wish list presented by some of the town council members for the upcoming 2025 budget discussion. Councilmember Berger, who is not here this evening, has a prime commercial office space at the school and has asked for $50,000. The Honorable Mayor Foskey has asked for $25,000. Councilmember Holdren has asked for money for the school, but no dollar amount was specified. And given your comment, Mayor Foskey, I have been told by 7 different members of our community that Councilmember Knock has asked the mayor and the town manager for $850,000 for the parking lot at the school. This has been sourced around town. This is $850,000 of taxpayer dollars for a parking lot. The number is staggering. We are now close to this wish list to $1 million of taxpayer money. The school is public land. FOS pays the town $1 a year in rent. The school signed a lease with the town which clearly defines their tenant obligations, and the maintenance and repair of the parking lot is the sole responsibility of the school, the leasee. It is in their lease agreement. FOS is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. There are many deserving nonprofits in our community. Car Place, a jewel of short history on Market Street, would love to receive money from the town council. Our volunteer fire and rescue company, which every man, woman, and child in this town counts on, would also love money. The battered women's shelter that Peaches so brilliantly put together would love a windfall of monies to help desperate women and children survive. It is the obligation of this town to treat all nonprofit organizations equally. Oh, shoot, I was just getting to the good part.
30 seconds.
The school has done a remarkable job in supporting the town. And as a matter of fact, Greg and I are going to be on the Brushes and Blooms Garden Tour, which is scheduled for June 8th. And the whole Mount Prospect area is going to be, not the entire Mount Prospect area, but individual homes are going to be on this tour. And Greg and I are delighted to participate and support FOS. Thank you.
Please, Casey, yeah.
Casey Greer, 74 Market Street. And I'll ask for these to be put into the record. And I'll give you a copy of them. About a year ago, I proposed, this is about not water, but I'm trying to go big picture here. About a year ago, I proposed that town councilors add office hours to their schedule. There, citizens could talk about issues in a casual setting. Some councilors and the mayor stated that phone calls, email, and running into each other were sufficient for gaining constituent input. I think turnout at the town council meetings are demonstrating that that's not working. And I disagree with that idea, with that position. Serious issues facing Onancock include pedestrian safety. I'm a sidewalk freak too. I'm with you, Joy, on that. Pedestrian safety, problematic residential zoning requirements, the special needs of Northeast, a weak and disorganized planning commission, the management of public lands in the town, and the need to be able to exert more control over the proposed Liberty Street housing development, which is advertising that its main benefit is that you get the advantages of Onancock without paying any of the town taxes. Give me a break. Let's annex those suckers. And I can come up with a half a dozen other issues too. Another channel for open communication is needed, and I think, again, turnout at town meetings is demonstrating that. I propose a biannual town meeting. As long as official business is not conducted, a town meeting is not in violation of FOIA. These gatherings could take a number of formats, and I'll suggest some of these in a separate email to you all. I've done a lot of different meeting planning, and I know a lot of different ways that these can be done in a way that lets people feel like their voices are being heard in a supportive and civil setting. Participation in these meetings should be a requirement for town council members, the mayor, and town manager. The police chief, the fire chief, and other local officials could be invited to participate in sessions where there is a topic that touches on their responsibilities. We clearly need more two-way communication and transparency in decision-making processes. And I think informal conversation in a structured setting is a way to sort of begin this process. The more we practice it, the better we will be at sharing ideas. Thank you for your attention. And I look forward to discussing this with you all further. Thank you.
You get, all right, I need 2 copies. Good grief, girl.
I'm Rosemary Popero and I reside in the town of Onancock. I hope that the mayor and the council members have had a moment to read my March 22nd email regarding certain issues with respect to the town's signed agreement to supply potable water to coastal squaring residences development of more than 450 residential units and commercial tenants in only. I trust you will convene a special town meeting, as Casey said, to explain the ramifications of that agreement as well as any other water agreements for housing or other projects beyond the town limits with all the town residents and taxpayers. Since we don't know what Onancock's costs will be, and they could be significant, allocating funds to the historic Onancock School at this time is premature and certainly not economically prudent. Besides the burden which may be placed on residents, there will be a decidedly negative impact on current businesses and our ability to attract new businesses to Onancock if the agreement with coastal and other entities causes a short-term or long-term rise in the already steep cost of water in Onancock. I ask that these comments be appended to the minutes of this evening's meeting. Thank you.
Are there any other public comment? Anybody miss? Okay, thank you. Next item is, council discussion is to discuss operating priorities. I'm not sure. Is it the budget discussion?
It's a budget discussion and it's what you would like to add and what you would like to remove from the 2025 budget.
This was left over from last year.
Yeah, I should explain those items that are still typed there are wish list items from last year that didn't get done.
What's this? Still like to, do you want me to go with how many rings?
Why don't we start at one end and go back in there? Brandon?
I don't really have any comment. I don't necessarily have a whole lot of comments on this list. That was my idea of last year, was seeing the deteriorating Christmas lights and that they didn't, it would be nice if it stretched the whole business district instead of stopping short.
And we just ordered, we had money left, we just ordered 6 new lights, this, the thing, got a 28% discount if we ordered for the 25th.
Okay.
So we just ordered 6 more, that was the budget, we still had money left over from this year. So we're working on that.
And I just thought it would be nice if it went down to the start of town where we had
Yeah,
that.
that's our goal.
Yeah.
It's in the CIP also.
Yes, that's for the new lights, yeah.
That's the new lights from the new poles. There.
Okay, Eric, you're up.
Looking at what I had asked about last year, a question, we said we were going to talk about partial subsidy for family members' medical insurance, and I suspect we're right up against the deadline again.
We actually haven't gotten our new rates yet. And there's only one employee who uses something greater than a single coverage. So I don't know that we need to worry about the subsidy because that employee pays 100% of the difference. So it's only one person.
I get that. I guess my question from the discussion last year was the thought that if there were some kind of partial offset of the difference between the single person and the family or two-person, that would possibly increase our attractiveness to the kind of employees that we would be looking for when we look to hire new people.
Yeah, from a policy point of view, I think that's something the personnel committee can take on. From a financial point of view, because it's just one person who uses two-person, putting a subsidy in for that right now, I think would be premature.
And then the comment about the school, some of the comments in public comment were utterly inaccurate. Leave it at that.
Mavis.
Couple of things on here I don't remember.
This is last year.
But going back, I'm starting from the bottom up on the maintenance department, flex. What was that about?
That was getting a seasonal employee.
To add a seasonal.
Yeah, to help them.
Okay. All right, that's good.
We've been talking about that for quite a while.
We still need to do that. Okay, so I'm still putting a check mark there. I like it. There was my question about the senior citizens gathering place, and I'm thinking that the Welcome Center will serve a dual purpose. And that the fact that the Welcome Center is on a roll and beginning, that there's an opportunity there to do exactly that. If somebody wants to come in and sit and read, it would be the perfect opportunity to say, welcome to the residents as well as to tourists. Parliamentarian. I do think we need a parliamentarian because we mess up a lot. And we should be held accountable. If we're gonna work with Robert's Rules of Order, we should follow Robert's Rules of Order, and there are times when we do not. So, that was the other thing on, let's see if I can read this.
Escadeve.
Excuse me. Oh, yeah, the $1,000 to Escadeve, but you know,
10,000.
is it
Oh,
10?
sorry, yeah.
No, it's
10,000 to Escadeve and 1,000 to our CDC.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I still agree that's a good amount. That because we do need to be sure that those organizations that support not just Onancock, but the entire shore are funded. And that's, to me, very important because the hospital doesn't provide, there is no place else to go. And when there's no place else to go, somebody's got to have a heart. And I'm hoping that that heart comes from Onancock. And the arts. I know that we talked about the North Street Playhouse and REC, that they had to apply every year, but I think it should be a given that these things that are so important to us in terms of tourism and in terms of the arts supporting and serving the citizens of this town, that we support them and that they know that they have this coming.
It's a match, that's why they apply to get.
Well, the match funds,
So-
but I'm just saying, if they don't,
Just so
apply,
you-
they don't get it.
Just so you know, the application from the Arts Association requires them to write a letter asking for the funds and what they'll do with it.
I understand, but that's one thing, but I'm just saying that we should have a separate $1,000
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
rather than if they don't apply or if they don't get to it, there's still that money coming.
I understand. Got it.
Okay, on my list last year, I did say financial or building support for the school. I feel that a landowner has a responsibility for a building structure. And hence it follows to me that we should be contributing in some amount to maintaining that building. I understand the lease. Doesn't mean I agree with the lease. It occurred a very long time ago. But I still think that we own the building and hence we have some responsibility for maintaining it. I also mentioned the part-time staff to keep the landscaping going, and I noticed unfortunately it slid again, so I think we still need it.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a new item that's occurred to me. Given some of the zoning issue we had in the past year, I think it would be wise for us to have an audit of our zoning ordinances to make sure that we don't have any other issues hiding out there that we don't know about. Ordinances that somehow didn't get in the Muni Code or whatever. But I think we all found it shocking that there were an ordinance that was highly important that we knew nothing about. So I think we need an audit. And I don't have an amount for that.
I understand.
All of my dreams were fulfilled last year, so I don't have anything on this year. I asked for a playground in the northeast neighborhood. We have a playground. This year I'm gonna ask for mulch. Because Thelma, you mentioned that the mulch that's there, the kids are getting splinters. Yeah, so maybe we could upgrade the mulch there in the playground. I do have two requests. And I talked to our town manager about this. I discussed it with him. My neighbor, Dr. Al Halls on Creekwood, approached my husband and I recently because he said he was concerned about our community. And we came up with the idea to have a block party. And we've worked through all the legal requirements of how to do that. So I'm requesting $10,000 to buy and supply for the future, not just for, I think, putting in a garden is a great thing, but unless you have the funds to maintain that garden, then it's just a weed pile. So I would like $10,000 to purchase a covered utility trailer that people could take to their block and have a party. And in the trailer, we would have tables, chairs, tents, coolers, games, whatever. And I don't think it'll cost a trailer. In fact, I saw one today that I'm gonna have my eye on. And I don't think it costs that much for a trailer, but we do want to put the funds into sustain it. So that's one of my requests. Then in talking with Mr. Spot, we could paint a Nancock block party on the side of it. And when it's not checked out by a resident in a Nancock, we could rent it to Only or Parksley. And in their town would sit the Nancock block party. So that's one thing I came up with. I do hope we come up with funds for neighbor to neighbor. I also hope we come up, there was a request in our mailbox for, from the American Legion. I don't know what post that is. Miracle at your what?
Parsley.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It says
For $2,000 for the American Legion. So I support that. I think that if nonprofits want money, I know in the past, the fire department's always come and said, we would like $25,000. We gladly support that. If they should ask, either by letter or in person, this is what I want money for. This is what I need it for. I think that's it.
I think Ray's not here to, my comment from last year, I don't know if you remember last year, but we were just, it was quite a bit of discussion about the pavilion. I proposed, put it on the table for people to think about, giving them an annual stipend to relieve pressure for them to try to, so that the pavilion wouldn't have to be a huge money-making thing and to get cut back on the performances. And if we gave them some money to, to work on the roof or maintain the building. We own the building. The lease has nothing to say whether if we want to give them $25,000 a year, we can. It doesn't prohibit that. So it's just, I'm just throwing out for council discussion. I don't know why people seem to think that, this paving the parking lot, at the school, that's a wish list that they have. They've never formally submitted it. To me, it's pretty far down on our priority list. We've got a Queen Street lot like everybody talked about. I kind of told them I didn't think the timing was good for, the parking lot, and I think they probably realize that. But the Queen Street to me is the critical, parking lot. So the 25,000, I just threw that amount out there. We own the building. If you own a building even, you know, and the roof needed some work, you would fix the roof, you know, it's not, it's your building. It's not like we give money to the fire department. We don't own the fire department. We give them $25,000 a year. We've given $100,000 to Escadив. So it's not like we don't give out, you know, we do give money to things. We're just giving money to ourselves, basically, you know, to improve, keep the school from, keep it up. So that was the only request I had. All right.
Can I say one more thing? I very much believe in nonprofits throughout our community and the good that they do. I agree with Joy that I believe they should request the funds instead of us just.
And tell us what
Offering
they're
that.
gonna do with those funds.
I think we should have when a nonprofit in the community or outside the community that's helping to serve our community, there should be some sort of metrics in place that how we quantify what we're giving them. You know, their size of the size of the donation based off of the size of the organization that impact is gonna have. How much impact that's gonna have on the residents of Onancock and those sort of things, instead of just having a emotional feeling that we are giving whatever dollar amount we decide in the community through that organization. I think we have a need to quantify why and how we're giving that and what impact it comes back to.
Comment.
Yeah.
Brandon, do you think that in the instance of the school and that we own the building, do you think that that makes any difference or no? Even though it's run specifically by a nonprofit?
I don't know that us keeping that up, that they've leased it, that was a decision that they made. We could take a look at that, but I don't know that we have necessarily an obligation to that. We could decide as a community that that is something we want to invest in and we want to help support that organization. That's something that we can choose to do, but I don't know that we necessarily have an obligation to.
No, I don't think we have an obligation. It's something we can do if we want to. I don't think the lease prohibits us doing it if the council said. I don't think, a few of us were here when we signed that lease. I don't know if you were here when the lease was signed. You know, the building was in bad shape and the town was trying to do everything we can to get rid of the building, so we didn't have to maintain it. We couldn't even afford it. We didn't, back, 15 years ago, this town had some tight financial times. We were trying to unload the building, anybody that would take it off our hands, and that's what happened. So the lease is not well done, not well written. And it put them, if I would have done, I would have never signed that lease, that's the way it went. And they did us a favor by taking it off our hands.
And they're doing a great job.
Yeah,
I think
so
if we
I-
had some sort of metric that,
No, I
again,
think
in
you're
that
right.
same scenario, measured
Yeah.
what we were donating and the impact that it was giving back.
Correct, yeah.
And the size of that based off of other organizations that are applying as well, that we more greatly be able to understand what we're actually doing,
Yeah.
the size of the impact we're having,
That's
and where those funds are going.
right. All right.
They do submit an annual report, which is, I'm trying to think which other organizations do submit an annual report.
So
Main Street.
what I'm just saying is that it should be the same for every organization, that we should have some sort of process, not just what they give us, but what we ask from them and how we're measuring that.
All right. All right, so you got the information down that,
I do.
okay, and,
We didn't talk about what we want to remove from the budget.
I think is that,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, what, I thought are we gonna get into the, we're gonna talk about, are we in the work session on the budget or?
Yes, it's on the calendar in May.
All right, does anybody have anything they want to remove from the budget?
Yes.
The existing budget, yeah, not the things we just talked about.
Existing budget.
Yeah.
Matt and I discussed a lot of this today, and I just wanted to share it with you. The $190,000 expenditure for sewer is going to go away, is my understanding. So there's $190,000 right there. We talked about the out-of-town events. Last year we budgeted 10,000. This year we budgeted 6,500, and we've only spent $284. But Matt shared that. What is it, Virginia 250 or something is coming?
Yeah, it's Sail 250, which is the country's celebration of the 250th. We're an affiliate port, and which means that one of the ships is going to come into Onancock. And we're trying to put together an event that, celebrates that properly. It is a huge national celebration, and it's a nice honor that we have. So my thought was taking the unused dollars and creating a reserve to celebrate that day.
Because that's only in 2 years.
Yeah, it is. And trust me, they're very organized people, and they're, mhm.
And the town plan, of course, will come out because we've completed that. And we're really hoping we do not have to train a new police officer this year. Because that's $18,000. Yeah, really, that's bigger than those.
Anybody else want, Sarah?
Not a removal, but the two of you reminded me, we voted a while ago to create a committee for the semi-quincentennial, and then nothing else has happened. So is the sale 250 gonna be it, or are we gonna do anything?
Well, I think we should, put it on the website that we're forming a committee. Let's see who wants to join. The Sale 250 committee is who?
Right now, it's the two of us.
Yeah, that's a small committee. I think that's.
And I did approach Main Street, and they said it was outside their mission. So,
Well, why don't you put it on the website if we want some volunteers, and then they want to form a committee. Doesn't have to be a huge committee, but,
And by the way, that was not an offer to chair.
yeah, but I think.
I think if you can say semi-quincentennial, you should be able to. You should share.
I'm full.
Anybody else about the budget here?
I feel you.
All right, Matt, impact of real estate assessments?
Okay. Let me unplug myself here. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. Okay, as I'm sure you're all aware, the county went through this year and reassessed all properties again. Our town received an increase of 19.1% in assessed value of land and buildings. So that's everything. Normally land is treated separately, but so we have 19.1% increase. The law says that we have to first of all start with our current budget and say how many dollars we raised from last year's real estate taxes. And ours is 400,000. There's changed. Says then what we need to do is, given the new assessment, 19.1% higher, what would the tax rate need to be to raise the same number of dollars? Okay, does that make sense? I'm looking for, okay. In this case, in our case, last year, our taxes were 28 cents. We're looking at, to break even and raise the same dollars, we're looking at 23.50. 23.50, so it'd be 4.5 cent drop. The far right column is, we have increases in expenditures at the town as well. So what I'm trying to do is keep any increase to an even 3% to start. So if we were to increase our tax dollars by 3%, it would go from 400,000, which is sort of our baseline, to $412,000. So 3% of 400,000 is 12,000. That would be a 24.21 tax rate. So we'd go from 28 down to 24.21. Those are just numbers because we're all going to write the same check. So the fact that our tax rate went down, it offset by a 19% increase in assessed value. So the town makes the same amount of money with a 3% increase. it would bring us to 412,000 and have a tax rate of 24.21. That's obviously a council decision if you want to move forward with any form of revenue increase so that we can match our expenditure increases, but that's your call.
Any questions about wait, well, that'll be something we have to decide at the budget time, right? Thanks.
So Matt, are you saying that our operating expenses or have increased by 3% in 2024?
The consumer index for inflation currently is 3%. I don't see any reason that we wouldn't follow that for normal expenditures. Operationally, I don't see anything material that's going to come out that's going to drop it under that 3. But obviously, you'll know very soon if the expenditures require higher income. Okay.
We receive a lot for our tax dollars in Hancock. We have clean water, we have sewage, trash pickup, limb pickup, which is, don't mess with the limb pickup. Yeah, but I look at our tax rate and you're proposing, we're currently at 0.28. So I looked at Cape Charles, who's much more affluent than we are. For every $100, there is 0.22. So they're less than us. Exmoor. But now, does Cape Charles have water and sewage?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does Exmoor have water and sewage?
Yes.
Partial sewage.
Well, they've got the system pretty much in now.
And they bring in a lot of revenue from tickets, too. And Chincoteague, which has no water and sewage, is at 47 cents. So
it really all balances out by the other revenues that you look at. If you look at Tot in Cape Charles, for example,
meal tax.
it dwarfs ours, absolutely dwarfs ours. And same thing with Chincoteague. I mean, they have 800 Airbnbs on Chincoteague now. So that Tot is offsetting what they would require for real estate tax.
I understand, but
Okay.
this real estate board, irregardless of your income, whether you're a widow living on a Social Security check or selling your house for 1.5 million, this is, everybody pays this rate. So, anyway.
Any other questions about the assessment? All right, water rates monthly, every other month out of town.
As you all know, the water meters are being replaced by remote read meters. So those remote read meters are being provided for us because of the contract we negotiated with HRSD when we transferred the plant. They're starting that project. They've got the engineering done, and they're probably going to be here in the summer. When the next thing that we negotiated was they do all the billing. So they do the billing for water, sewer, trash, and all of that. They take care of it, but they bill monthly. So the bill I showed you last month, where it's actually a full piece of paper, it's got all the information on it. The postage thing isn't on top of your usage. I mean, it is a great billing system, and it will save us hundreds and hundreds of hours over the course of a year. They bill monthly. So what my suggestion is, back to the 3%, is increase the cost of water. Don't change the tiers. Don't change the minimums. Don't change, VDH. Just kind of leave it alone and just add 3% to offset the cost increases that we'll incur in our water and water distribution system. So that's, I put 3 columns here. One is every other month, which is basically how it works today. So, but when I'm looking at you, sorry, Joy's meter gets replaced, she'll go to monthly right then. So as we replace meters, half the town's going to be monthly, half the town's going to be bi-monthly. It's going to be complicated, but once we're all done, HRSD is going to do all the billing. They've got the customer service line. They've got all of that. They have translators down there. They have everything that we would never be able to afford as part of their offering. So the reason I have both is because both bi-monthly and single monthly are going to be happening during that fiscal year. The cost is exactly the same. There's no difference in the cost of, if your minimum was 100 with 2 months, it's going to be 50 under one. It's just, that's the way it's structured. So, and then I do have the third column that says out of town rates, and that is about 40% higher than our in-town rates. It's just a model.
So, and we're serving the hospital and.
Right now, it's the hospital and Commonwealth, but Commonwealth is putting in 40 new independent units, and that's part of this program. They're still working on financing, so it's still, but we've written a letter to say that we've got interest and capacity to help to provide the water for those units. So.
Hey, Matt, I got a concern and a question regarding changing from every other month to changing to monthly.
Yeah.
And that is our residents that struggle to meet their current water bills. When I first came to town, I struggled to understand that it was every other month, not once a month or not quarterly, which also made sense to me for sewer bills.
Okay.
But when you have a monthly bill and you have someone who's struggling to keep up with their water bill as opposed to every other month, they fall behind on more bills quicker than they do on an every other month, which I would think the consequences for that would then be sped up as well. Do we have a way to mitigate that for our citizens that are having trouble keeping up with that?
Yes. They can set up payment plans with us or with HRSD. Either one works fine. Right now we have probably, I'm going to say 15 families that, struggle paying the bill and need a payment plan. Mary Ellen is still going to be upfront taking those payment plans. HRSD wasn't all that happy about that because they want to control everything.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but we know everybody. We know what the problems are. We know when they're going to be late and when they're going to get, so having that personal relationship with those folks, that's the solution, is we're keeping the people side here while they're taking all of the legal and billing
So
side
they
there.
should be able to operate under the same
Yes.
system that they've been expected to
correct.
and they've come accustomed to.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's going to be complicated for us because going from bi-monthly, the way it works is you have to pay so much before the next bill.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're single monthly, we have to figure out how to do that. But it's one of the things that we negotiated with the billing transfer. So yes, that's a really important part for us.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, should this not be, it seems to me that going monthly is even simpler and easier to pay because it's half the amount that you were paying before upfront.
It's really the same amount,
Right.
just not stretched out. So my concern with that is generally you get a bill, and if you miss that bill or you can negotiate that one bill on some sort of a payment plan, and they're like, okay, well, you're only one bill behind. But once you start to get 3 bills behind, which would happen in 3 months instead of 6 months now, that to the company tends to look like you're in a worst case scenario. So I'm just making sure that those individuals have the same ability to work with in the confines of what they've been working in
We looked at going to, I mean, the previous mayor looked at doing, monthly billing. And he got people in the community that wanted to go to monthly billing, who were having a hard time paying. Because it was less, you know. so
Yeah,
that-
it's more
we looked at it because of
consistent.
that reason. So
Yeah.
I don't know. what-
It could be, I'm just making sure
Yeah,
that we're
I
not
understand, yeah.
putting people in a tight position where they're
we're
now
gonna take
behind on
cashier
4
that-
water bills instead of 2 water.
No, I
bills.
understand. what you're
Yeah,
saying.
you're actually gonna be able to pay your water bill at Walmart if you want. There's, there's all kinds of different ways that we're gonna be able to separate them from their money.
No choice. I mean, they're going monthly billing, correct?
Yeah.
This is not our decision.
No, it's
Okay.
not. This is more along the lines of showing you that, it's gonna be very strange as we
Yes,
go
I
through the
understand
year
it's
and,
very
okay.
complicated. The whole thing has been complicated. So the bottom
Amen.
line is that you're requesting a 3% increase in the water rates, is that, and that's gonna be
That's-
decided at our budget.
That's what I'm gonna put
That's your
in.
request.
And once we get to the balancing of the budget, then we'll see if that works.
Okay, thank you. We don't have any control over the sewer rate.
So that's not, that doesn't go in line with the water rate.
Correct.
Gallon,
The gallons you use, yeah, we don't do sewer anymore. We're out of that business.
But HRSD can increase their rates at any time.
Sure.
We're not under contract with them.
No.
Now, they put together a schedule that was 20 years long and tried to show people what it was going to look like, but obviously they can't predict the future. So, the budget I put together here was a 5% increase for sewer. They haven't released their rates yet.
Question on the numbers.
I think it's gonna bring that.
As I'm looking at the every other month versus the middle column of monthly billing by HRSD. The monthly billing amounts are not half
It
of
comes out,
the,
I spent
No.
most of the day on that, Councilmember Knox.
There-
and
here's the
It comes
difference.
out.
When you put it all together, multiply it out, the difference is on what we are right now is $80.75, and it'll be $80.51. If you take half of what we're doing.
I'm saying it's close, but
Let
the
me-
impression
yeah.
that I got was that that the intent was for them to be exact.
They
And
are
I'm
exact. Let me send you an email tomorrow with what the numbers are, because if you use the 3,000 gallons for every other month and the 1,500 gallons for the single month,
Which I was not doing.
that's,
Yeah, let's,
Okay.
It comes out to 24 cents difference.
yeah, why don't we let's work this out.
I know it's tiny, but I was just.
Yeah, I understand that.
I appreciate,
Yeah.
Councilmember Brandon's comments. There are people who do struggle to pay their water bills. Give you a little history. In 2008, we took 1.3 million out of our capital reserves to balance the water. And I don't ever want to go back there again, and I don't think with Mr. Spock, we ever will. But again, I looked at other towns, and Anacog and Cape Charles are fairly comparable. What I did find though is Exmoor's minimum rate is 0 to 4,000 gallons. And Chincoteague is 6,000 gallons for the minimum rate. I think the only way you can come under our minimum is if you are one person in a house. Those are the people who are coming in minimum. And I can only talk about my water bill because it's the only one I know about. We always exceed minimum. Barely, 3,100, which puts you into another $15.90 for that 100 gallons. I would like to see, if you're gonna give a 3% increase, that we increase the minimum. Just a little bit. I know, you're like, but we've got all these out of town rates coming at us, so. Yeah, it's just a suggestion.
I understand your last comment. We got all these out of town rates coming out.
Last column. Chart.
Well, they're much higher than our rates.
That's what I'm saying.
That's your thing, that'll give us revenue
Right, yeah.
to offset.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to run the numbers on that. Can you give us some, it's complicated.
yes, changing the tiers is not that easy, but
Yeah.
we'll work through it.
I did-
Well, whether I make it 3,500 or 4 million, I still have to work so Yes, I will absolutely work something through.
Heard people who ask, could we do our taxes twice a year? Because I know, we're shaking your head now, but it's a real blow to people.
Well, actually, the answer is no, because the county prepares our data file in August.
And it's only.
And then it takes us, 2 months to get it ready. So we can't bill in May because they haven't even prepared the data until August. So that we physically can't.
All right, committee reports,
Who cares?
personnel, I think we did have a board meeting.
Yeah, we met, this month for a very brief, meeting. The main event was to talk about how frequently we needed to meet. And we determined that we don't need to meet every month, that we're gonna go to quarterly meetings. And of course, can meet in the interim if we decide there's a need to. So I believe the next one would be in June, is that right?
Mhm.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Any questions that we really didn't discuss anything in personnel, except when we're gonna meet? On Hancock Main Street?
Okay, so Hancock Main Street has maintained its status as a nationally accredited Main Street program. And is working on soon submitting the downtown improvement grant. That match was approved by the town council. And the budgeted items that we're gonna do, there's an administrative fee of 10%, but Main Street's not gonna take the entire 10% since we decided to devote some of the administrative fee to some of the other items we needed. Mural phase 3 is planned. There would be a mural in the uptown section of town. We hope that that mural will demonstrate our ethnic diversity, and we've formed a committee to help with that. There would also be a mosaic on the Chandler building, wrap on the back so that it would be visible from those people parking in the parking lot, walking toward the main part of town. The majority of the funding would go to a commercial interior improvement grant for the businesses located in the Main Street district. And finally, there would be a community engagement, both to refresh Main Street's connection to the community and to ensure that in developing the downtown initiatives that reflected the needs and desires of the townspeople. On the mosaic for the corner of the Chandler building, the concept would be a cross section of the creek so that it would show the mud and then going up to the water with crabs and fish, that kind of thing. Going up to a bank, perhaps with grass, marsh grasses, and maybe if we have enough money, bird or something up there. All of this gets expensive, as you can imagine. The plan would be to hire a new Ravenna to produce the design as well as make the actual mosaic, and then we would hire a mosaicist to install it. Now, once Main Street comes up with the design, the town council will review it and would have the option to not approve the design if you hate it. So everybody understands that. I would like to feel that you're in agreement with the general concept of this public art on that building before we go forward with submitting the grant application.
Could you give us a little drawing about where it's going, just to briefly, can you submit to the next, do you need to know that right now, or?
It's not something that gets submitted with this application, but, okay, you're walking from the parking lot,
The Queen Street parking lot.
Queen Street parking lot to the sidewalk, the back corner. It would wrap around that corner.
So like a couple feet on the side of the corner?
As much as we can pay for, it's just,
On the welcome center.
yes, yes.
So like about an 8-foot strip, whatever, on either side going out the corner. I mean, 8 foot high, that's not the height.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't start at the ground.
Oh.
You gotta come up some from the ground, or it's gonna have dirt in, right? So you come up 2 or 3 courses of cinder block,
Right.
then the designs, and it would probably not go all the way to the top. You know, there'd be a little bit of space at the top.
No, you're not talking about covering the whole building with mosaic.
No.
Yeah, right.
I mind if we could afford it. No,
Just the back wall would be cool.
And you have a building in mind for the Upper Down Mosaic,
That's a mural.
mural, I'm sorry.
no, we don't. We're hoping to find one, basically. I mean, that's the target area because we feel like that would be a huge improvement as you're coming into town. But we don't have a building yet, no.
Okay,
Any questions or anything? Any comments?
well, you're still submitting this, we haven't gotten this framed, so.
Unless you tell me you hate the idea and would never consider doing it to that building. We'll submit the grant.
Is the prices of
Yeah.
the pictures.
Yes. It costs $500 to get the design. So we've got to put in
That's
the
why we're doing
application.
that.
But you're not gonna proceed unless you get the grant, correct? Well,
Correct.
right, yeah, right, you're applying for a grant, right, just wanna make sure that everybody's aware of that, man.
Yes. And you would get, if you hate the design, you can say no, no way.
Okay. All right, Historic and Hancock School. There,
Yes. The next event coming up is a new one. It's called Field Day Fiesta. It will be on Saturday, May 4th from 9 to 3 with field games for adults and kids, along with food, beverages, and live music. Registration is open now online. And if anybody would like to help out, we would welcome volunteers. As has been mentioned, then the second Blooms and Brushes is scheduled for Saturday, June 8th, 11 to 3. Homeowners are lining up to be on the tour this year and next. And this year will include several houses in Mount Prospect. Online ticket sales begin April 1st. Wine Wednesdays are continuing. The Eastern Shore Art League Spring Show opened March 1st and will continue through April 24th. And there has been continuing work from the facilities volunteers, painting the gallery, creating 2 lower level lounges from unused space and insulating one of the rooms, as well as trimming trees on the grounds as needed. Pavilion construction is ongoing with the trusses and foundation work now complete. Progress has been slow because of the wet weather, and future progress will also depend on weather and supply deliveries, and fundraising efforts are underway. Any questions?
Planning Commission, right?
We had our meeting where we discussed the parking and the suggestions that were given back from the town council. After discussion and reviewing that, we decided it needed a deeper look into it, and so we'll continue to review that. We're gonna continue to look at the comprehensive plan and evaluate the ordinances that are important for further review. And that's gonna be on April 1st at 5 p.m.
No, 6.
6.
We moved into
Okay,
6, yeah.
Yeah, fitting.
All right, waterfront, we had our, first meeting, for the waterfront, I guess, and, Matt, I guess you can fill a couple details about that, about dredging and stuff.
I can. Part of the ARPA project money was to dredge underneath the floating docks. Our permit, because we didn't get it done, expired, so we're gonna add to the permit in front of the bulkhead and fuel dock and underneath the floating docks. The folks who are handling all of this for us came up to look at our spill site, which is where all of that dredge is going to be dumped. And they were really, really surprised and pleased with how our guys prepared that area. I'm gonna address them in a minute, so.
The wharf is gonna open on
Next Monday.
Next Monday.
next Monday, okay? Joy, EDA?
Yes. Mr. Spock put in his manager's report that all the contracts are ready to sign and have been approved by our attorney, DHCD, and the developer's attorney. The developer has signed the first agreement. I would like to introduce our chairperson, Katie Schwab, who's also an attorney. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but you would give a much better update than I would, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, okay, sure. Just happy to report that really thanks to the diligence of all the members of the board and.
Hey, we can't hear a word you're saying.
They're up here.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, Katie.
Sorry. We got, it's going out to the, to the internet, so we gotta be able to.
really didn't-
Good eye.
Not on TV, that's not what.
All right. Kate Schwab, and speaking for the Hancock Economic Development Authority. Thank you, Joy. And thanks to Joy and all the members of the committee, and especially to Matt and all the efforts he's made. I think we're at a point now where the various cats have been herded, and we have the state, the developer, and the BPA and the town all on board with various documents that need to be signed. So by this week, we should have them all in place. The administrative details that need to be put together, including creating a bank account, things like that, have also been done. And so we are really on the path to making sure that the Lewiston project has the low cost loan pursuant to the town grant that we've gotten from the state. So it's been a huge group effort, but I'm really happy that I think we're on board to move forward.
And we're fortunate to have Katie's leadership. We had decided we're gonna sign, and Katie kept saying, I think we need to talk to the attorney, and boy, were we glad we did. So
Oh,
thank you.
No, it's a really great project and it'll be so good for the town.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Well,
Katie.
Public comment we've already had, mayor's report, I don't have much, I guess we've had a lot of comments about the water, outside the town. The one comment is no contracts have been signed, correct? I mean, we haven't signed anything, correctly?
No, we wrote a letter of interest and capacity to let them know, and that's what the developer needed with the county.
So this will be we'll come back to the council when when it comes time we can talk about this. There are issues here. I think we're not trying to hide anything, but we don't have any information yet, and we'll come back at, in public sessions and discuss that. And I will try to, get a couple answers about the water report. We'll find out about why some of those numbers aren't on there. And I think that's probably a reasonable explanation. Yeah.
We don't create the report.
Yeah.
We fill in the numbers on the report.
Right.
So if VDH decides that nitrates aren't measured this year, that's how that happens. We don't actually have any control at all over what's on that.
All right, okay. I don't know if I take a question, but,
Coastal, he said at the ACMAC meeting that the agreement between Coastal and Onancock had absolutely been signed.
well, it's incorrect.
Yeah.
I haven't signed, I'm the one that have to sign something. I
Yeah.
haven't signed anything.
And neither have I. He's looking for his permit.
Council would have to vote.
I have not signed anything. I've had one conversation about that, last month. So I don't know why people are saying we've signed any contracts.
So are we going to provide water to them?
We haven't signed, we're discussing, we're in discussions with them and nothing is, we're in discussions. It's all, this is like the 6th or 7th developer we've had over the last 20 years that has come in this area and said, can you provide us water? And, we've been in discussions, nothing's ever happened. So, but the council will make that decision at an open public meeting. So nothing has been signed. So I don't know why, whatever they say is not true. So,
That as a factual document.
well, I can only tell you that I did not sign any agreement. I'm the mayor, okay? I can only say what I know. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, well, I did not sign anything. They forged my signature. All right, but no, we will, this is a public, a public body. We will discuss it, and the council will discuss this, and we're not trying to hide anything.
So would you?
Couple of things,
Quick question. Would you, or did the town manager sign it? Did it?
one of us would sign it on behalf of the council vote, yeah, right, yeah. So I normally sign some things, but Matt signs other things, but.
Mr. Mayor, while you're on the water subject, may I
Yeah.
ask a question? If the water doesn't come from the town of Onancock, well, and the developer does wells or whatever, does the water not come from the same aquifer?
It does. yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And it's less than 4 well, not wells, yes. So that's this discussion that we need to have. We're not, I think people brought up some good points and we'll find out. The couple things, BZA, did we ever figure out do we need people on the?
We do.
If we have a Board of Zoning Appeals that I don't think has met in the last, 5 years? By now?
Now, while I'm here.
Yeah, so we have some vacancies on that. If anybody wants to, express interest, the circuit court judge appoints the people on the BZA. We have nothing to do with it, but we can recommend names to him. So if you're interested in being on the Board of Zoning Appeals, please, let Matt or me know. We'll put it out on the website. We have some people their terms have expired and, we could need a BZA meeting. So, if you want to read about what the BZA does, it's in our zoning amendments, about 2 or 3. It's actually fairly complicated. You read it about it in our online. But we do need volunteers, and we would, like I said, we do not appoint them. They're appointed by the circuit court judge. It's supposed to be an independent body. That's about all I have. Town manager's report.
Okay, first, I want to, the whole report is in your packet. I'm not going to read to you. But I'm going to run down a couple of things. One is our DPW is going to be running the water line from Lilliston over to the Welcome Center. That's not very, that's not very newsworthy, but what is newsworthy is the amount and quality of work that those guys have done in the last 3 months. It is really impressive, from clearing the spill site to getting the wharf or the marina to the point where we can get the pour done to, I mean, just one thing after another after another. They've been killing it. So if you see them out there, give them a standing ovation. The project to get the wharf ready. If you remember right, you remember the pavers had all broken and there were cones up and split everywhere. So we cleared all that out. We dewatered the whole thing. We've got, a ton of crusher run and crushed concrete, and it should be poured this week, probably Thursday, Friday type of thing. And then that'll be done before we open. But that's a huge project that those guys took on, so anyway. And then last but not least, OBCA and their team put on a great parade. It was just so much fun and everybody enjoyed it, and you can tell everybody had a lot of fun. So thank you to them, and thanks to everybody who came.
Yeah, and any questions about the financial report as well?
Something I want.
Oh, okay, go ahead, yeah, include the financial, we'll do both at the same time.
Okay. Under ARPA fund for downtown visual improvements of 35,000, we discussed today, Matt, our trash cans are horrifying. And he had a good point. He said he wants to coordinate all this. The trash cans, the lights, the benches, and I agree, let's do it all. But couldn't we not just figure out what kind of trash cans we want and put some, the ones that are out there are falling apart. The lids are broke. Anyway.
I don't think that we could probably do that.
I think we could.
It's not rocket
trash
science.
cans
Yeah,
without 3 or 4 meetings.
Right, yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. What the-
Oh, no.
All right, anything else?
These are the ones out of the street.
You probably won't be surprised by my question about the website.
I had a proofreader go through it. He gave me some great suggestions. I've kicked about half of those to the web developer because it's structural, and the others I'm going through this week, and hopefully we're going to be able to start talking about publishing.
Does this person have experience in writing for the web versus general wide range?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else with questions? Matt? Okay. Alrighty. Town council, we don't have a closed session. We don't have a closed session, right? No. Town council comments,
Yeah.
Joy? Yeah.
I liked your comments, Katie, or not Katie, Casey. I appreciate all the comments, but I really like in fact, you mentioned that, or previously, that council members should have office hours. Well, I don't really want an office. I want to have coffee with council members, like over at the pub. I think Mary and Elon would be happy if we just took 2 or 3 tables. I think you did that, didn't you? How'd that go?
I'm sure they would be.
Yeah.
They were very supportive of it.
Yeah, and whoever's available and can come that day and, you know, let people know. I think it's a great idea. I think there needs to be more communication. I also like the biannual town meeting, where it's not just council and the mayor and the town manager, but the fire chief, police chief. And just, a town meeting where people can say, I think you guys are doing a great job.
Say that over and over. I have one quick question. I had put a resolution in front of you about U-turns.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Anybody have an appetite for this tonight?
no,
Okay.
that's not an emergency. Cindy?
And I'd like to kind of respond to both Casey's suggestion and Joy. My concern is that when you speak to one of us, you're getting that person's opinion. Only the town council as a group can make a decision. And so I have concerns about people asking us individual questions, getting impressions that that is the same thing as a council decision, which it is not. So I think that's a real concern with us meeting individually with people and telling you whatever we think about whatever you're talking about.
Thinking office hours are not the way to go. I think what we need is, because you've expressed concerns about that, but in fact, relying on people running into you on the sidewalk is no more sufficient and is probably less helpful. And if we do a town meeting, it can be structured, for example, in small conversational groups that then reconvene. There's all these different ways you can structure these meetings. I guarantee the first time will be a shit show because nobody's used to it. But what'll happen is then people will sort of get the format and sort of understand what it is to interact with one another.
And I don't think they're looking for answers from us. It's more of a, we listen.
Right,
I
and
think that
we ask questions and you figure out where the issues are before they turn into an $850,000 parking lot, right?
Right.
The fact that the fact that Patsy heard that from 7 different people should give you guys pause, because what's going on is there is a real information problem in the town. And you can say, well, it's just gossip and, you know, it's just gossip. But in fact, it has an impact on policy, right? And how decisions are made. And so I just think that we might try a town meeting that is not official business, so you don't have to worry about FOIA, but would allow people to, you could even organize it in conversational groups by topic, right? So you could get people who are interested in different things convening in smaller groups and then reporting in the end. There's lots of ways to do it. So I concur with your concerns about office hours. I mean, my initial way was just to figure out a way to have a conversation where I don't have to count on running into you at the Food Lion and chasing you around the frozen food department. So, you know, I just think we've got to come up with something. It's clear that there's interest. And so what happens is people get up and read statements and then maybe you guys respond later, but that's not a conversation, right? Nobody moves in their attitudes. No understanding is improved. So that's what I'm talking about, is thinking about another way of doing business informally with your constituents, where you get a better sense of the pulse. And also we understand you guys better, right? Because, you know, that we have a better sense about, you know, what's gossip. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
Make it.
I would just say that I agree, because the town hall meeting is open, honest, and something that you don't have to filter your thoughts. You just talk about it. And what your concerns are very valid, because it is not a decision-making process, but it is a communication thing. And maybe it will slow down the rumor mills, and we can talk about things that are real. So I agree with that. We used to have 2 meetings a month for the council. But if they're going to run into 10 o'clock, You know, it's just, it's a bit much, but we should be able to communicate on a more regular basis, and I think very soon, we should establish a quarterly town hall. Very soon, establish that we're gonna do that, because I think we're all pretty much in agreement.
I'd just like to say one thing. I'll tell you,
Can we let finish our comments first? Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to mention the WHRO documentary Against the Current. There was a screening on Saturday at the community college. And there are efforts underway to try to get another one over here. There are several others across the bay, Williamsburg, etc. But it focuses on the Eastern Shore. It's going to be a national public broadcasting documentary that interviews scientists, farmers, watermen, people from all up and down the shore, bayside, seaside, looking at farm fields where they just can't plant those rows anymore because they're not going to work. And watermen from Saxis who are having to drive to Newport News because the water temperatures in the James River are better for the crabs than the water temperatures at Saxis. It's really sobering and really well done, and I commend it to you. April 24th at 8 o'clock, channel 15 or whatever your local channels are for that.
Sarah, could we get that at the Roseland Theater? That would be so.
We
fabulous.
didn't we do that? What was that one that it was, wasn't it? That one?
No, this is a brand new thing.
Okay.
That is a great idea. I don't know what the process would be for that, but
What was it? Maybe Cameron Johnson. You know, did a couple of years back.
WHRO.
Or you should just put it.
I don't know.
Do you know?
Go ahead.
I don't remember.
my only observation was this, I believe that, something that really has been missing between the residents of the town council is our ability to understand your perspective. And that you might understand ours, and only through dialogue does that occur. And I believe that a lot of the situations that we've been dealing with for the last year with dialogue with the town council, I believe that we can make headway.
I think the thing brought up earlier about the office hours is that I've been to several mayor meetings, and the mayor is in a little different position that, I don't make the decision, I don't vote unless it's a tie. So I've been talking about having a time when you can come in and talk to me because I'm not a member of council technically. So I'm considering doing that. The other thing is that if 8 people, if you're a rumor, send me a text, send me an email or call me and I can tell you something about it. I mean, I hardly get anything. I mean, it's like, I get a couple people send me emails and I don't like them, but if you have a question about something, I'm sort of I'm email me, call me up. I'll be glad to answer. I can tell you that, we weren't considering putting a parking lot over at the school. We could have just nailed that down, and I could told you we didn't sign any contracts. I mean, I'll be glad to, the factual things I can straighten out. If you just give me a call or send me an email, there's emails right there. And I mean, hardly anybody ever emails me, and I'm so serious.
Have a nice day tomorrow.
Well, I don't mind, and that's the purpose of the mayor is to facilitate communication between the town management and the council. And I'll be glad to do that. And I'll be glad to talk about sitting in here. If somebody comes in, we can have a couple donuts, I'll work that. I don't have a problem with that. And I think that as a mayor, I won't be giving, one opinion as, sort of a non-voting member. Yeah. Okay. All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
Brandon.
Greg
do you
and
have
I
comments?
attended the premiere of the film Against the Current, and it is a love letter to the Eastern Shore of Virginia. It is beautifully produced and composed, and it will just make you fall in love again with the fact that we get to live here.
We should look into it about bringing that, I'm sure there are copyright issues and things, but we can talk to them now. We'll certainly pursue that. All right, we have a motion to adjourn.